Let's look at two-step equations. When solving two-step equations, you need to move the constant away from the side with the variable first. So you move the constant away from the side with the variable first. What is the constant that I need to move first? So I found my variable. It's on the left side of the equal sign, so I need to move the constant first, which in this case is -9. So -9 is the variable or the constant that I would move first. In order to do that, you want to take the inverse operation and you would add 9. Looking at the second example, your variable is on the left side of the equal sign, so you want to move the +4. So your constant is a +4. In order to move it, you would subtract 4. Looking at number 3, your variable is on the right side of the equal sign, so the constant that you want to move is a +17. Make sure you have to include that sign that's in front of it. So in order to move a +17, the inverse operation is to minus it. So let's look at a few examples. Remember when we did one-step equations, the first thing that we did was drew our line down the middle of the equal sign. So we're still going to do that. Next, we're going to find our variable. It is on the left side. So now let's move the constant that's on the same side as the variable. It is a +5, so the inverse operation is to -5, and what you do on one side, you must do on the other. A +5 and -5 cancel, and you bring down what's remaining, which is a -2n equals -6. Now you want to move the coefficient. Remember, the coefficient is the number that is being multiplied by the variable. This is -2 times n. The inverse operation of times is division, so I'm going to divide both sides by -2. Your -2's cancel, so you get n equals a -6 divided by -2 is a +3. Now let's check our answers. So write the original problem, including the equals -1, and you want to substitute what you got for your variable. So you got 5 minus 2n equals -1. So 5 minus 2 times 3 equals -1. Order of operations state that you multiply first. So you get 5 minus 6, which is -1. You have to evaluate the left side of the equation all the way down to one term of -1 and keep bringing down your equals -1 on the other side. Do not stop at 5 minus 6 equals -1. That's not right. You want to go down all the way to the reflexive property of -1 equals -1. Since you got -1 equals -1, you know you got the right answer. Let's try another problem. In number 2, the first thing I'm going to do is draw my line, find the side with the variable, which is the left side. Now move my constant. It's a +1, so the inverse operation of +1 is -1. Bring down what you have remaining, which is 3x equals 7 minus 1 is 6. 3 times x. I'm going to do the inverse operation, which is division. Bring down what's left, which is x equals 2. Circle your answer. Now check. Write down the original problem. Substitute what you got in for x. So 3 times 2 plus 1 equals 7. Multiply first because that follows order of operations. And you get 7 equals 7, which is true. Let's try a couple more. Number 3, draw your line. Your variable's on the left side, so you want to move your constant on the left side of the equal sign, which is a positive 6. The inverse of a positive 6 is a negative 6. What you do to one side, you must do to the other. Bring down what's remaining, which is a negative 3x equals, and 21 minus 6 is 15. Negative 3 times x, so the inverse operation of multiplication is division. Divide each side by negative 3. Bring down what you have remaining, which is x equals negative 5. Circle your answer. Check your work. Write down the original problem. Now substitute what you got in for x. Multiply first. A negative 3 times a negative 5 is a positive 15. 6 plus 15 is 21. 21 equals 21, so you got the right answer. Number 4. Remember, minus a negative, you make your big plus sign. So before you do anything, rewrite this as m plus 8.2 equals 15.7. Now you can clearly see I have a plus 8.2, so I'm going to subtract 8.2. Bring down what's remaining. M equals, and 15.7 minus 8.2 is 7.5. Since this starts in decimals, you can leave it in decimals. But if it starts in a fraction, you want to leave it in a fraction or a fraction reduced. Write down the original problem. I'm going to write down the m plus 8.2 equals 15.7. Substitute what you got in for m. 7.5 plus 8.2 is 15.7. Since you got 15.7 equals 15.7, you know you did the right thing. Let's try a couple more. My variable is on the left side, so you want to move your constant on the left side, which is a minus 3. The inverse operation of a minus 3 is a plus 3. So you're going to plus 3 on both sides of the equal sign and bring down what you have left, which is a 4x equals 25 plus 3, which is 28. 4 times x, the inverse operation is division. So you get x equals 7. Now check your answer. So rewrite the original problem. Substitute what you got in for an answer. Do not assume anything. So you get 25 equals 25, so which means x equals 7 is correct. On number 6, draw your line, find your variable. It's on the left side of the equal sign. So you're going to move your constant on the left side. So it's a positive 5. So you're going to subtract 5. Bring down what's remaining, which is 1/3 times y equals 1. This states 1/3 times y. So when we say take the inverse operation, generally you would divide by 1/3 on each side. If you remember when we looked at fractions, when we divided, we did keep, switch, flip. So we would keep the first fraction, switch the sign to multiplication, flip the second fraction. Okay, same concept applies here, except for instead of going through all of this, at the beginning, you can, instead of dividing by 1/3, you can multiply by its reciprocal, because that's what's going to end up happening. So you have y equals 3. So 1/3 y plus 5 equals 6. Substitute in what you got for your variable. Remember, if you multiply a fraction and a whole number, place a 1 under your whole number. You get 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 1 is 3. So you get 3 over 3, which simplifies to 1. So you get 1 plus 5. 1 plus 5 is 6. So you know you did your work right because 6 equals 6. Turn the page. Let's look at problems like number 5 and number 6. Let's draw our line. Your variable's on the left side, so you want to look at your constant. Your constant is a positive 10. You need to move that first. So the inverse operation of a plus 10 is going to be minus 10. What you do to one side, you must do to the other. So you bring down what you have left, which is x divided by 4 equals 24. Now you have an x divided by 4, because remember, a fraction bar represents division. So I'm going to take the inverse operation, which is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply each side by 4. So you get x equals 96. Circle your answer. Even though there's no check step written for you over here, you still need to check your answer. So write the original problem, substitute in your answer, and follow order of operations to solve it. 96 divided by 4 is 24, plus 10. 24 plus 10 is 34, which equals 34. So you know 96 is correct. Looking at number 6. In this case where you have x plus 12 in the numerator divided by -6, you need to move your denominator first. So this fraction bar again represents division. So the inverse operation is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply each side by -6. -14 times -6 is a positive 84 equals x plus 12. Now it's a simple one-step equation. My constant that I'm moving is a plus 12. The inverse operation is a minus 12. So you get x equals 72. Again, even though it doesn't have a check area for you, you are still required to check your answer. So write down the original problem and substitute in what you got for an answer. Remember, order of operations, we simplify the numerator and we simplify the denominator before you simplify the fraction. 72 plus 12 gives you 84 divided by negative 6. 84 divided by negative 6 is a negative 14. So you know that you have gotten the correct answer. Ask your teacher if you have any questions.